Hi, and welcome to Six Figure Signature Offers, the place female founders come to create businesses that deliver both peace and profit. I'm your host, Robin Birkin, online business strategist. I built my first six-figure business with a baby and a toddler working just 6 hours per week. And I grew it to multi-six figures, more than 1 million podcast downloads and 1,500 clients before returning to my true expertise and growing this business to multi-six figures in less than 15 months, all in part-time hours. The one secret weapon that's fueled both businesses, a hero signature offer. The kind of offer that turns you from just another face in your niche to the authority, makes content creation 10 times easier, and powers rinse and repeat launches with big pockets of freedom in between. My mission is simple: to help you create a scalable business model that lets you work less, earn more, and build the kind of business that actually feels good to run. So if you've ever wondered how to create easeful yet wildly successful launches, how to get off the revenue roller coaster, or how to juggle being a present parent and the breadwinning CEO, sit back, subscribe. I am so happy to have you here. Let's go. Hi. You will be so pleased to hear that I am not crying this episode. So if you listened to last week's episode, thank you so much. There was a little bit of emotion that came out there as I spoke to some of the hard things that have happened, specifically in our personal life, and also some of the very great things. Like, it has actually been an incredible year, some really great milestones. But today I am speaking about the lessons I learned this year in 2025 that I'm taking into 2026. There have been, number 4 is the chef's kiss. Like, the biggest lesson that I am taking away is number 4, and I will speak to that soon. But let's dive in. So, I highly recommend, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go and do that, because that kind of gives you the flavor of how the year has gone. And I also did a behind the scenes episode where I kind of gave like a lot of what happened also in the year in terms of the timeline. So you can get the flavor of exactly what has happened in 2025, where I've fucked up, where things were just fucked up, where things were super great, and the flavor of how our launches went, etc. So these are 11 lessons that I think I have learned. Obviously, nothing is ever set in stone, so we may change and evolve, and as beautiful human beings, we get the ability to do that. But here they are. So lesson number one is low ticket offers. I love the idea of low ticket offers. I love the messaging that everyone has around them. Like, they're this easy button. You just switch them on and you have all of a sudden these beautiful high ticket clients just coming into your sphere. And that is true, that is the case. I've had low ticket offers in my business before, but I think there's always this but that comes along with low ticket offers. And I love the idea of them, but the reality of low ticket offers is that ads are essential unless you have a giant audience. Think like 6-figure engaged Instagram audience. They're going to be hard. And I've even had, speaking of that, as I'm speaking, I've had clients with multiple hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram that have had low ticket offers suites and then been like, yeah, they're actually rather hard. So unless you are running ads and constantly being on top of your ads, like, you want to be checking your ads minimum once a week. Usually if you are running low ticket offer ads, you would be checking them every day, and you're spending a higher amount per day because, let's say your offer is $27, you kind of need to be spending like $50 a day in order to get any kind of meaningful data. Ideally, you would be spending a couple of $100 minimum per day on those low ticket ad funnels. So everyone's like, they're the easy button. Well, they can be, but they are also the complexity button. So then with low ticket offers, you have to have this cascade of other products on the back end as well. Bump offers, multiple OTOs. So an OTO is like another offer that is served after you've purchased the main offer. And then obviously you'll still want to have a signature and or high ticket offer on the back end of that as well. So low ticket offers are 100% working quite well in 2025 to ascend people into your high ticket offerings. That is a fact that is true in this market. It's something that allows people to essentially try before they buy. And coming into 2025, one of the things that I had wanted to do was give people an avenue to try before they buy. But the complexity of setting them up, and I have a friend who's a Facebook ads manager who has said openly that the majority of his clients, you're looking at about 50 iterations between the products, the messaging, the ads funnels, all of that kind of stuff to kind of get the combination right. I also have other friends who regularly run low ticket offer funnels, and for many of them, the low ticket offers work for a while and then they stop working. So you kind of, if you want to run that type of funnel, yes, they can be the easy button. Yes, they can absolutely skyrocket the revenue in your business, but you have to be aware that you're sort of playing a different game and be conscious of doing that. For me, I really identify, I have these archetypes of different business owners. I really identify with the archetype of the easy breezy group leader. And for me, that means a very simple offer suite with a premium-ish product. And when I came into the middle of the year, so earlier in this year, we had like batched bootcamp. It took off last Black Friday. So I ran it. It was a live challenge. Great results. The engagement off the charts. It also, then I ran it a second time. Positive return on investment from our Facebook ads. I was like, sweet, even without a bump offer or anything. But then when it came time to run it the third time, when I was like, right, this is proven, let's scale it. Did not scale and in fact went backwards. So it's that level of like complexity, constant iteration that I was like, as much as I love the idea of them, like at an execution level, they're quite complex and possibly not in alignment with the easy breezy style of business that I want to run. So when we got to mid-year and I was strategizing, what does our kind of launching and intakes and sales process look like? And I kept doing the math and I was like, hang on, even if my just freebie converts fairly lowly, because low ticket offers, 100% they convert at a higher percentage than free offers. But even if I like really have a fairly low conversion rate on just like a lead magnet, I'm still better off than if I had an average conversion rate on the low ticket offer. So I'm like, nah, webinars. I want to just run webinars coming into 2026. It is not the complexity button, and it means I have one sales page to edit. You know, I'm getting cheaper leads, so I have more of an ability to generate more leads into my funnel, nurture those leads, etc., etc. And I've never bought into the concept of freebie seeker. I'm like, no, I don't think anyone is really a freebie seeker. If you have an offer that solves a really good problem that is urgent, that speaks to the desire that people have, that's always going to sell really well. And even with low ticket buyers, a number of them are never going to ascend into your higher ticket offers anyway. So I'm like, between free and between low ticket, I don't find there to be much of a huge difference. But going into 2026, I don't think low ticket offers are going to be part of my strategy. It could change, but at this stage, if I had to look at my sales process and my sales funnel, it's going to be webinars and potentially like free lead magnets going into the webinar, straight into my signature offers. Number 2, and I spoke about this last week. I had 3 words going into 2025: simple, seamless, and space. I got to mid-year and I took a month off in my business And as I took, and you kind of need to have this experiment to, I guess, sometimes know, but 100%, I was more the bottleneck than I care to be in my business. And that combined with a few other things. And so sometimes as well, you need to have the space in your business to really have that big vision casting. If you're constantly in it, if you're constantly just going through the motions of the day-to-day, sometimes you don't get that deeper thinking and reflection. So we had a month off, went on a surf holiday. That gave me the space to be able to really reflect on the business so far, crush some of the mindset stories that I had, and then think to, okay, what does it really look like coming into my vision for the end of 2025 and into 2026? And so the first thing was, based on my words, I was like, yeah, I'm really much more of the bottleneck in the business than I care to be. The words that I had were space, seamless, simple. I wasn't living up to that as much as I wanted to. So behind the scenes, there's been so much happening behind the scenes of the business that I have really been working towards that vision becoming reality by the end of this year and into 2026. But the other thing that the big sort of mindset lesson that I learned or reflection that I had when we were away on that holiday is I'd built up this story in my mind that the moment you kind of get beyond 250,000, business just becomes hard, it breaks. You have to start sacrificing all of your wages and revenue and profit, or not revenue, but all of your profit in order to scale and have this giant team. And that may be true, but I don't know firsthand. So let's fuck around and find out. So that was the first thing is, well, actually, let's see what it is like to scale a business and have higher aspirations. So I was like, no, let's see what it's like to get to 500,000. And then I was like, hang on a second, but why aim for 500? Like, why am I constantly aiming so low? What would it look like, even if really my goal is that a really beautiful and peaceful business can exist at 500,000? If I built the business for 100,000, I'm obviously not going to be the bottleneck. If I have $1 million business that runs with space, runs seamlessly, and is simple, right? So what if there was 1 to 2 products that scaled to $1 million? What if my clients were deeply, deeply supported in the business and I wasn't the bottleneck in that? So it was a real mindset lift to me. If you consistent, like if I built a business to $250,000 and that's it, well, it's only going to build to $250,000, of course. But if I'm building a business to $1 million to be able to support deeply, well, seamlessly clients at $1 million, if I built the sales engine for $1 million, what would that look like? And I can guarantee whatever you have as a revenue figure, a couple of things. I can guarantee that deep down you probably want more than that. And I can guarantee that you're probably playing small. You are possibly think of $1 million business owner. You might even be like, no, screw you, man. I want a big business. I'm an ambitious girl. I'm in it for the Stripe notifications and those big payouts. Rock on. I love that for you. But if you are not there yet or not even close yet, like maybe you are at $50,000 a year, what would it look like to play a bigger game? What would it look like to invest, to rise up, to have the confidence, to have the boundaries, to have the belief that matched the business that you want? I guarantee you are possibly playing around with oh no, there's no way I could possibly do that because this is where I'm at right now. And I want the business, but I'm not willing to, invest in the level of Facebook ads that I need in order to be that successful. and I'm just going to continually just expect that my revenue will increase without ever investing at the level that I need to in order to make that happen. What would happen if it was like you unequivocally believed that a $1 million business was possible and on the radar for 2026? You would know deep down about the level of investment in team, the level of investment in mentorship, the level of investment that you need to make in Facebook ads in order to make that happen. And I guarantee you are probably still playing small because you possibly still have 1 foot in and 1 foot out in your business, and you are constantly still stuck in the mindset of, oh, but what if it doesn't work? Or I tried something before and it didn't work. Versus, I'm going to make it work no matter what. Like, it's inevitable. My success is inevitable. And I'm going to track my numbers like a CEO. Right from the start of the year, I'm going to intentionally plan and reverse engineer my numbers. And if something doesn't go to plan, I'm going to pivot and move, because that is what a CEO would do. So if you want to play a bigger game, girl, you've got to believe in yourself, right? And so I had this thing, I was like, hang on. And it's a great place to be in, to be like, oh, this was the revenue goal and like what I thought was my end revenue goal, and I reached it. And you kind of get bored when that happens. If you are the type of person that is ambitious, you get to that revenue level and you're like, oh, kind of want more. And so I had this real moment of like, you know what, let's play a bigger game. And so many of the moves that I have made in the second half of this year are exactly that. And it goes along the quote of hard life, easy decisions. Hard decisions, easy life. I have made so many hard decisions this year. I have actively had clients that I have not invited to re-sign because I haven't felt like their level in business is the level that it could be in order to be supported in my containers, or that it's just not the right fit for them anymore. I let go of my team and almost like went backwards massively in terms of team and support. I am incredibly particular about publishing weekly podcast episodes, and as you can see, that hasn't been the case recently. So I've had things actively break in the pursuit of building systems and support around me in order to play a bigger game in business. So by and large, I've broken lots of things. I have had lots of things not go the way that I had intended in my personal life, and yet I still come and show up because I know that next year $500,000 is inevitable in my business because of the way I've, been intentionally setting everything up. Number 4, of every single lesson that I have learned this year, this has been the number 1. As I said last week, so definitely listen to last week's episode. Next week's episode is all about my almost like predictions for 2026. There's one word that I think is going to be almost like the word that encompasses everything that will work in 2026. So make sure you're subscribed and tune in next week. But I intentionally came into this year knowing that it was an integration season. So I call this an autumn season in business. You're going to take, a higher level of profit. You're just going to coast along with things that are already working. And I knew that my capacity would be lower because of the renovation, because we were having a month off in July, etc., etc. But the fatal flaw that I had was almost like pulling back because I had low capacity in my life. No. My word going into 2026 is supported. Because what happened was, in a low capacity season, pulling back. So I didn't rejoin my mastermind. I didn't increase my team. I didn't increase my ads. I didn't do any of those things because I was like, no, I'm low capacity. I'm not going to have a lot of time to do much of anything. What that left me was more exhausted. When I was navigating infertility, my mantra was like, I'm going to get all the support I can get. And so I doubled down on support. I said last week that I don't think I would have necessarily changed anything that I have done this year. I don't know that I would have made different decisions, but going into 2026 it's been a real eye-opener because I'm like, no. I went and I rejoined the mastermind that I am a part of. So I am in Ellie Swift's Scalable Freedom Mastermind. It's a mastermind for women at the minimum is $100,000 revenue. Most of the women, we're at multi-six figures plus in revenue per year. So a lot of launching, etc. that we speak about. But I am like, hang on, no. Why would I, when I'm in a season of low capacity, pull back on support when sometimes I need that strategic advisory to guide me forward, to keep me on track, to help me make sure that I am making the wisest decisions for my business. And so when I was going through infertility, literally that was the lesson. And I just feel like I've just had to learn this lesson again. If you're in a season when your capacity is low, double down on support. Speaking to you, and we currently have applications open to join us in the Peace and Profit Mastermind. If you are someone who is making around $5,000 to $15,000 per month in your business, or at that $50,000 to $100,000 to $150,000 mark in your business, and you want to scale up your business right up to $500,000, and you want to be supported deeply for the next 6 or 12 months, then come and reach out to me. This is where you get a personalized plan. You get deep support. Obviously, everything that comes with a normal mastermind. If you're in the VIP tier, there are some really premium benefits such as one-to-one calls with me, a personalized strategy, an ads VIP day. So that may be something that you wish to consider, and reach out to me now, because while officially the cohort begins in February, there is an opportunity for you to have extra support and also lock in at the 2025 rate for the mastermind. In 2026, the rate will be increasing quite significantly. So come and reach out to me on Instagram, or, come and find the page and submit your application. After you submit your application, we can jump on a call. You can ask any and all questions that you have about whether the mastermind is a good fit for you. But if you are going into a hard season in business, if you've had a hard 2025, that's not a sign to pull back on support. You may feel like maybe with kids, maybe with big life stuff going on, that your brain, or maybe with perimenopause, that your brain isn't braining quite the way that it should. And sometimes the instinct is to pull back on the support that you're receiving. Literally, that was the biggest lesson that I had. I was like, no, you double down. Again, in my corporate life, I used to work for a college, and it was a residential college for international and country students who are coming to study at one of the main, most prestigious universities here in Perth. And we were in a row of several of these units. And it was a tough point in the economy, but we were full with a wait list, while all of my competitors were only half full. They were all frantically trying to see what we were doing that they weren't doing. There was heaps of things that we were doing. But one of the things we did was double down on marketing. We invested more. So when the economy wasn't working, it's instinct to pull back. The worst thing that you can do if business is tough is to pull back. When you pull back on whatever it is that you need, maybe it's mentorship, maybe you're like, whatever I'm doing isn't working, unless you know what to do or have that second pair of eyes. I know Eleanor Beaton says you can't see the label from inside the bottle, right? if you don't know what's not working, or if you're like, I can't figure this out, and you're like, business is tough, I completely understand that can feel like nervous for your nervous system to then invest in consulting and mentoring. But what is your plan then to fix it? What is the plan? What is the community that you look like around you? Are you in a winning community? Are you in a community where everyone's like, oh, nothing's working? Because I'm not. I'm in a community where people are actively taking action. Or there are people who are having launches that aren't going well, and I get to learn from their insights as well. So I know that the first instinct is to pull back. Maybe you're like, cash flow is tight, I'm going to push back on ads. But the problem with that is that often that can send you backwards in a spiral backwards. And sometimes you need to be so focused on, well, no, hang on. I don't want to be going backwards to the point of having to close my business. What if it looks like for a season, just keeping my head above water? Full disclosure, maybe that looks like lowering your payroll a little bit and not taking so much out of the business. But knowing that if you pull back on the things that are helping you make money and you're like, no, I'm going to do it all. On my own, I'm going to do it all organically, that might be the exact thing that takes you further backwards. So when I used to work at Tommy Moore, we doubled down on marketing. And that was one of the ways that we became the obvious choice. And then everyone came to us, and all of our competitors were literally scrambling to be like, what are you doing? What we did was when they all pulled back on their ad spend because the economy was tough, we doubled down. Likewise, I used to work in corporate marketing. In another company, I was the state advertising and promotions manager, and this was during the global financial crisis. And I worked in the automotive industry. People were not upgrading their cars at that point. They were like, no, I'm going to stick with this for another couple of years. Likewise, we doubled down on marketing. We hired more consultants into the business, and that was how we survived the tough season in business and came out on top, rather than all of our competitors sinking even further. So food for thought. So coming into 2026, I'm like, why in a season of low capacity would I pull back and try to do more on my own? And there was a part of me that was like, no, I should know better, right? We don't. Sometimes we only have to learn the lessons again and again and again. That you don't just join a mastermind or a container when everything's ticking and going along well. And you don't just join a mastermind, for example, when you are looking to scale. I'm really toying with the idea of what is that consistency in support through all seasons look like, personally, by the way. So I rejoined my mastermind. I was like, yo, I'm ready to come back. And I was like, just put me in for 12 months because I know that the renovation is going to last for at least 12 months. And that's great. I've had the experience of dialing it back, and I'm like, I do not want to do anything on my own. I want to be supported the full way. So my word going into 2026 is fully supported. What does it look like for me to be supported in all levels so that the business continues to grow, even if it's a shit show with the renovation and things like that? So number one, I want to be supported at a mentorship and strategy level. I also want to be in a community with other like-minded women who are doing the same thing because, hello business, nothing ever goes to plan. So I want to be there to support them and be in that community. Women always work better surrounded by others. Then I'm looking at, from a personal level, what other support do I need? Already we have a housekeeper, but I'm like, what does it also look like potentially to have some help with the laundry, all of that kind of stuff? At a business level, as I have explained, I let go of my team very temporarily, and I have now hired my first employee, which I'm equal parts relieved because that was a hard 2 months trying to run the business all on my own. Equal parts like feel nervous because employees come with like employee law. We're signing up to workers' compensation insurance and all of these different things. So an employee is very different to a contractor. But also one of the things I said is I'm not rushing into this decision because I want to hire the exact right person. And the right person for me was actually someone who potentially hadn't worked in entrepreneurship before. So therefore, instead of hiring as a contractor, I'm hiring as an employee. But all through the business, all through my personal life, we are going to have an easy breezy life. And I always think to being the calm in the storm. And I am very regulated in my business. Nothing is ever an emergency in my business. Launch doesn't go to plan. It's all data and it's all insignificant. And this year, God, has been the epitome of that, right? I am so calm and regulated through launches, through hiccups, all of that kind of stuff. That also one of the mindset beliefs that I have had that I have really radically shifted my view on is the idea/thought of co-coaches. I have always thought, I'm not the type of person who has co-coaches within my containers because I want to serve my clients so deeply. And I've had a massive reframe around that because what if, number one, having support at all levels, personal, business, behind the scenes, front of scenes, what if that is the thing that enables me to support my clients at a more deeper level, which is exactly how we are playing out in 2026. But also, what if they have their own unique skills, personality, insight that helps make it everything 10 times better than just me? I'm not your guru. At the thought of like that documentary. But what if I had this incredible team of experts in their own right? So not people who are just little clones of me. What if I had experts in adjacent fields to me that enabled my clients to be supported even faster, that brought experience that was even better than mine, that enabled my clients to at all times feel 10 times more supported. So in 2026, it is absolutely the goal that we will have some experts within, particularly the Peace and Profit Mastermind. And that is a goal. By the middle of next year, by the 1st of July, I want to have some absolutely incredible coaches inside my high ticket programs supporting my clients. And that's been a real mindset reframe, but literally through every element of my life, I am getting support. I am making sure that everything runs like butter and I am not the bottleneck in any way, and that I still get to support my clients deeply regardless of anything else that is happening. And so this year, obviously, I have still supported my clients deeply, and I felt like the pressure of having to maintain everything that is going on, or in my launch, because mum was sick, I had to pull back, and then I was social media was dropped like a hot potato. What would it look like to pull back and the social media still happen, as an example? So that's where we're headed. Number 5, along the same lines, is that systems will save you. I am all about the back-end systems right now. I've spent the last 6 months, so it's been probably hard for anyone to see on the outside, but on the inside, there has been so many changes that have happened in the business to enable everything to happen more seamlessly, whether that's through AI, through automations, through changing the way that software is communicating with one another, to the standard operating procedures, the way that we do things in the business. There are so many things that have been changing in order to upgrade the business to the next level. Number 6, business seasons. It is so important that you understand in business what season you are in. And I think there's a big misconception that you're kind of always in a scaling season and that you always are going to double revenue year on year. And that, like I had someone once say to me, oh, I can't invest in the mastermind because I'm not at, like when I look at my revenue, that doesn't equal 10% of my revenue. And I only ever budget 10% of my revenue into mentorship. And I did not reply this, but I thought this. I was like, sometimes you can't get to the next level in business unless you spend more on whatever it is, mentorship or ads or whatever. So sometimes it is entirely appropriate to only spend 5% of your revenue on mentorship. Other times it might require more. Just like with ads, if you wish to, for example, double the number of people in your next launch, that may require you to double or even more, because sometimes as you scale, your cost per lead isn't quite as good, your investment in Facebook ads, as an example. So you're expecting to double your results in your launch, but still spending for the same number of people to join your program. So sometimes then in order to fund that, you may need to pull back a little on your take-home wage or whatever that is in order to fund the increase in spend, which will enable you to double your launch, which will then enable you to, in the long term, double your take-home profit and wages. But you are expecting like the cart to come before the horse. That's not always how it plays out. So there are going to be seasons in your business. We align them in my business, or what I teach to my clients as like summer, autumn, spring, winter. Winter might be all out war. Things aren't working. Your launches aren't going to plan. And you may need to double down on mentorship, on ads, on tweaking your funnels, all of that kind of stuff. You may need to invest more time, more money, whatever that is, because if you keep taking a giant wage out of your business, then all of a sudden you're going to find that there's nothing left in your runway and be like, well, fuck, what do I do? So you need to understand what season you're in. Are you in a season of autumn where you're like, cool, I'm integrating, like I'm not growing year on year? Or I'm going to just invest the same and enable myself to take a really healthy wage out of the business? Or are you in a season of aggressive scaling, which again, like I said, if you want to double your launch, you may need to double your ad spend. So what does that season look like for you? And how can you adjust your budgets accordingly? Because not every season is just like coasting along at, 50% take-home wages, 20% ads. That's going to ebb and flow depending on what your goals are in business and, arguably reflecting on the previous months and previous year in business and how things are working for you and what your goals are moving forward. Number 7. The other lesson that I have learned is that 2 things: conversion events, so i.e. webinars, challenges, etc., and conversations are the GOAT. I guarantee to you that if you ran more conversion events, as in like weekly or even monthly, and initiated more conversations with your warm audience, your past clients, etc., you'd get more sales. If all you did was those 2 things in 2026, I bet you would get more sales, more conversion events, more conversations. They are a direct money-making activity in your business. Do more of them. More conversations, more conversion events. They are one of the best ways to get more sales in your business. And I've just started doing more conversion events. And I'm like, as I was running it, I was like, I can see why this is the GOAT. Like, I can see why these work. And they are still one of the best ways to get more sales and conversions in your business. Number 9, and I know that you've heard this and I've heard it before and kind of glazed over it, and it has absolutely been my truth this year. What got you here will not get you there. We reached, like about 250 grand in the business. And I know that what got me there will not get me to $500,000 in the business, or not even close, like that, capped, no more, right? Absolutely, like things started to break at that level. So it's been a process of rebuilding things in order to facilitate that higher level of growth. That might not be the goal for you. It is a completely realistic goal to achieve. It's doable to achieve when you put in the right action. If you want to get to 500,000, you're going to have to do things a bit differently. And that's literally what I've been doing. So really breaking things down in order to build them to the next level. Number 9, short-term pain, long-term gain. So I think I said it at the beginning of this episode. Easy decisions, hard life. Hard decisions, easy life. It has been one of the most painful experiences for me to break down the team and operate as a solo provider for a couple of months, but it has been absolutely necessary. And behind the scenes, like in terms of the systems, in terms of our software and tech, it has not been pleasant by any means, but if I want the business to expand, I am, actively sitting in the discomfort of that experience in order to facilitate growth in another area. Where are you just playing it safe and comfortable to maintain the status quo because it's an easy decision, because it doesn't involve you working more, because it feels safe, because you're like, oh, I know I should do this, but that seems too hard. Are you avoiding Facebook ads even though you know that you need to run them? Are you avoiding letting go of a team member? Are you avoiding upgrading your course software because you're like, that seems hard, but you know that it doesn't serve you and won't be able to get you to the next level? Where are you making easy decisions that are making everything harder than it needs to be? Number 10, life is always going to life. So I shared in the last episode some of the hard things that have happened. And while they have been hard, it is my experience of life that life will always life. So it's not about waiting for life to not life. It is about building a business that can operate smoothly when life lifes. Oh, and up to 250K, that's absolutely been the case. Now that I want to scale to 500,000, I'm like, that we need to make some changes. So that's exactly what we are doing, but it's a different type of business to get to 100,000. It's a different type of business to get to multi-six figures. It's a different type of business to get to a business that can scale up to $1 million. So you're going to have to make changes as you go, and you have to run a business that can run through your life, not sit and wait until life doesn't life. You need to believe in yourself. You need to be 2 feet in. You need to believe that it is inevitable. And if you don't have any of that belief or the action that will support it, you're just never going to take off and experience the success that you want to experience. And number 11, my very last thing, is we need a Skylink. So I went on a 1-month break in July. It was also end of financial year, and we had lots of payroll stuff due. So in my business, I've hired my first employee, but in our other business, we have other employees. But also I'm an employee of the business as well. And so we had for 2 businesses, they give you, you have to submit this paperwork to the government about your payroll by the 14th of July. And we were away for 3 weeks right over that period. So I did need to do stuff on the computer. And it was painful. We were in the remote surf place with beautiful whales and things like that in Australia. But it was painful trying to get the internet. So from now, when we go away, we're just getting a Skylink. I'm having the top speed of internet, please and thank you. So that was my last lesson is, although I love taking time off, sometimes it is just still necessary to have the internet. And so while I'm definitely planning breaks in 2026, I'm not going to plan a break from having access to the internet if I need it. I'm going high speed all the way. So those are the 11 lessons that I have learned. Slightly vulnerable if you combine that with last week's episode as well. next week, or this next episode, I'm going to speak about my predictions for 2026. I have a number of things that I think are going to work really well. The writing is kind of already on the wall with a lot of these, but there's kind of one word that I think epitomizes exactly what it is that is going to work in 2026. So if you allow that to be your guiding compass, it's going to be everything. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much. Bye.